think it's kind of exciting that you have a brand new asset class. Today I want to talk about a little different topic. I know usually I'm focused on crypto because I'm the digital asset guy. I want to talk about another topic that a lot of people are talking about, but not a lot of crypto people, some crypto people, but it's not really the two topics have not really merged much, and this has kind of been a mystery to me. Why? I guess there are reasons, but I want to talk about dating and relationships and kind of how it relates to crypto, or being a cryptocurrency investor, enthusiast, educator. I was talking to a friend a little while back and kind of, trying to have a discussion about this, and my friend's a little older, 40, older millennial. And he just really didn't get it. He's like, what is dating, how does crypto affect dating? It would only make it better. Because I know that you had a lot of success in all that crypto stuff, and so I was telling him about the challenges that come with it, because man, it has made things a lot tougher for me, I know. And somebody's dog is barking right here. Hi, doggy. Anyway, so my friend just didn't get it. He says, if you got money, that's always going to make dating better. I don't agree. And it's complicated. And if you got money, or your net worth has grown, if you got it through the lifestyle of being a cryptocurrency investor, enthusiast, educator, especially trying to be an educator, because it's something that's not easy to teach. It's something people are not taking seriously. It can just be tough. I lost my train of thought with the dog. Anyway, so if it was through crypto and that lifestyle, a lot of people don't realize it's not about the money. It's about the lifestyle and how difficult it is, and it doesn't always fit into what women want these days. Who knows what they want? I heard a psychologist talking the other day, and he said the honest answer is women want what other women have, is what he said. That makes a lot of sense. So let's talk about dating. First of all, I'm 35, never married, no kids. I've been in 3 pretty serious relationships. Almost might have gotten engaged, definitely once. It was serious stuff. Kind of got derailed by the C-19 pandemic. I guess it was a blessing in disguise that came when it did. But anyway, 2 other pretty serious relationships. Let's just talk about dating in general to get started, and why it's so difficult right now. Because this topic, when you get on YouTube and type in dating in 2025, you're just going to see this is a trending topic with millennials especially, but it's the younger millennials. The older millennials who are like 40, they got out of the woods because they did all their dating and socializing before social media and dating apps really took a hold of things. I'm jealous of them because we've got problems with dating apps, social media, behavior, just the way relationships in general are, well, really how they're not happening. But so basically, here's the gist of it. I'm just going to tell you what I have experienced since graduating college, with my dating life. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I've been on probably, I tried to do the math, and I've figured out that I've had to have went on over 500 dates from online dating since I graduated college in 2013, and that's conservative. And that shouldn't shock anyone. You know, I figure if a guy is on online dating apps, Hinge, Bumble, whatever, eHarmony. I remember I paid money to do eHarmony, and it was okay at the beginning. But if you're on those things, it is no big deal to be going on 1 or 2 dates a week when you're single in your 20s. And you're gonna rack them up quick, you know? And so if you figure, like, just say you're even going on 4 dates a month, times that by 10 months out of the year, that's 40, you know, times I've been out of school, you know, since graduated 2013, but, you know, it's been, you know, just say 10 years, take a few years off for relationships and things. Even if you just say 10 years, that's 400 dates. And I know that's conservative because in the 20s, there were times where you'd go on a first date maybe 3 times in a week, in the summer especially. But the problem is, today with these dating apps, what's going on is these girls, and I know I'm probably going to get in trouble here for making generalizations. I'm not saying all of them, but most of them, they have learned that they're in the driver's seat with social media and dating apps. And this is common knowledge. So I know people get upset about me saying this, but girls, they even tell me and brag about it and stuff. They say, we have all the power, we can do whatever we want. But anyway, they're going on first date after first date after first date, and they've just gotten in a habit of going on first dates, you know, and they're just constantly chasing the next guy, and they just want to keep going on first date after first date after first date, and that's just all we ever do. And it's kind of gotten to the point where they are so desensitized that they're kind of not living in reality anymore. For real. I mean, I went on a date in the summer, and I met this girl on a dating app. Seemed nice enough. We did the coffee thing. We did the half-hour interview to nowhere. You know, I have some experience in dating, and I've tried a couple different ideas. Anyway, we go to the coffee thing. She seems nice enough, very attractive. I invite her to go to my favorite restaurant, which is a steakhouse. Long story short, she comes in, and it's like a little game to them where they'll try to, kind of push your buttons. And she says, I don't think this is a very good steakhouse. The other one downtown is much better. I said, oh, well, I love this one. And, I've been to Delmonico's in New York City. I like my favorite steakhouse better, but it's plenty good, this place. And she just looks at me and she goes, honey, if you're broke, just say so. I got up and I left. I said, I am not broke, and this is over. And I got up and I just left, I mean, it is just so, I just stared at her like, really? I was like embarrassed for her. And she was serious, and I just got up and left. One of my bartenders, who I've known for a decade there, the next time he was like, hey man, what happened the other night? He just walked out before things even got started. I said, I'm not going to be talked to like this girl was talking to me, and it's just absolutely ridiculous. In the way that they're just out of habit. They're just going on first date after first date after first date. I've even had these girls tell me, if you slip up a little bit, I'll just get on a dating app and I have 100 other guys. And the sad part is, that is the honest truth. And they're living in this fake reality, and it's just like it's not even real to them. And it's very sad, and it's what's happening. And nobody knows this unless you see it firsthand. There's no way to know this behavior is going on. You know, I was talking to a baby boomer the other day about it, and he says, oh, that's been going on since the beginning of time. You millennials just complain about everything. And I just decided to not even get into it with him, but I'm thinking, okay, this has been going on since the beginning of time. I didn't know they have iPhones at the beginning of time in like Egyptian times, or what, in Egypt when they're building the pyramids. You know, I didn't know that they had cell phones and dating apps where they could do this kind of manipulation and have no fear, because they honestly do have an infinite amount of first dates where they can go on, get a free dinner, you know, because that's not the case. Give me a break. You know, it's back in the 80s and 90s, maybe some of this stuff went on, but you had to physically meet organically, and you had to like kind of be nice to each other. It wasn't this, you know, I can treat you however I want because I can replace you in 5 seconds. I was trying to date this girl, a little older. I thought she might be more mature. CEO of her own company, very smart, very successful. So I thought, you know, and I met her on this dating thing where you go and you pay some money and you actually meet in person, because I'm so tired of these dating apps and this vicious cycle. And so anyway, she told me the one day I said something she didn't like or whatever, and she goes, you know, if you slip up, I have 100 guys who can replace you, you know, and you have to realize that the truth is we hold all the power, us girls. And I'm just like embarrassed for her that she's saying, I mean, it's right, is the sad part, but the way that she was just saying it, she had this look in her eye, like this kind of crazy look, like I'm just laying it all on the table so that I can get you to do whatever. And it did not work out, but it was just crazy how she just looked me right in the eye and said, you know, if you slip up this much, or even if you don't do anything wrong, I have 100 guys on dating apps. I can get whatever I want, whenever I want. I mean, it was just crazy, you know? And you reach this point, you know, nothing happened. It's not like I went on some really bad date last week and I decided to make this video, but it's just when you're like halfway through the 30s and you're around people for the holidays and parties, and everybody's kind of, you know, the older folks are kind of, when you're a single guy and you're not married, doesn't look like you're close to getting married, you don't have any kids, you know, you live alone, you're kind of hung out to dry in social situations. It seems like you don't have much value, and you're just, you know, especially if you're a guy who's got most of their net worth in crypto, like me. People think you're really crazy. You know, you don't have this big $700,000 house that you got in, you know, $600,000 worth of debt for. I've got my money in, you know, an asset that's went up in value, and it's totally liquid. I can trade in and out. People don't care. These girls, they want the guy who has the house in a crap ton of debt. They don't care, you know, and even if you have those things, there might be a guy with a better house, you know, and they might not come out and say these things, but they've learned to habitually go from one guy to the next, and they have no shame about it, and they just don't care. That's why this is such a big problem. This is not just, oh, dating's a little tougher today. This is a culture. This is not just like a behavior that's going on. This is general business. This is a culture that has taken over. This is the culture. You know, it's a serious problem, and I'm done with it. I really am. I've just seen enough, you know, and I've had I get a lot of matches on these things, but I'm kind of done with it because it just, the same thing happens over and over and over again. You look at the statistics, it just validates all this, that this is what's actually going on. And it doesn't seem like it's stopping anytime soon. I mean, it's just insane. Oh, so then you can even try to meet someone organically, which is super hard. I'll tell you, people like my older millennial friends and baby boomers, they say, well, you just go to a bar or a happy hour or whatever, and you just meet them in person, ask for their number. What's the worst thing that could happen? They can just say no. Wrong. You would be shocked of the amount of times that I and my guy friends have been thrown out of bars and clubs for literally doing nothing wrong, for talking to a girl, offering to buy a drink. You buy them a drink, they even take the drink. Everything's going fine, they're not a worry, and then all of a sudden you feel something on your shoulder. Bouncer comes over and says, we've got to ask you to leave. And I'm like, I didn't do anything. And they're like, that's what they all say. And then I'll say, well, what's the problem? She said that you made her uncomfortable. They will throw you out of the club. They'll take you, it's embarrassing. And then the girl will literally smile and wave, drinking the drink you bought her, and then giggle about it with her girlfriends. It's terrible stuff going on. Nobody knows this unless they're there to see it happen, and they know you, and they know what happened, and it's just, it's just after a while, you're just done. I'm not frustrated. I'm so frustrated that I'm not even frustrated anymore. I'm just done. And then it makes it even worse when you're someone who, you've got your stuff together. You've got your stuff together maybe 5 times more than the average person your age. That's hard to take, to be treated like that. And I'm just done. I will not go to the clubs and places. I haven't in years, because it's just, there's nothing good happens. It is just insane. Let's talk about when you actually know someone through a social network, and it's someone who you would think would have enough class to not behave like this, and you meet organically in real life, has nothing to do with the dating app. That can go awry too, in a shockingly wrong way. It just, I have had it where I've met someone, I was not even trying to push things because it's a social situation where I see people regularly. The last thing I would ever want is a problem or even an awkward situation in this group of people. And here she comes. I'm like, I'm gonna play it cool. We have a lot in common. It would be great if this worked, but I know better than to try to force this thing. And all of a sudden, I start getting hearting the stories on social media. Nobody can see that if somebody hearts your story. That's how they play this game. Social media is such a powerful thing, and so I started getting that. Then I start getting this girl liking my public posts where people can see. Nobody likes my stuff. I'm the crazy guy. I'm the crazy crypto guy, right? I'm like, wow, she's actually publicly showing affection. To baby boomers, they don't understand this, and even older millennials, they don't understand when a girl that's, who's really sought after, when she starts hearting your stories and posts, that's like the highest indication of interest. So they know how to get this ball rolling. And so anyway, I had this happen, and this is somebody that I see semi-regularly, and it just starts getting heavier and heavier. And this is someone who has options. They have options like you wouldn't believe. And so this is like real when it's happening. So anyway, things progress. I decide to just ask her out. Everything's fine. We get a date planned for 3 weeks out in the future. I couldn't believe she said yes. I'm kind of, not so optimistic these days because of the way everything's going, but she says yes, and then everything seems to be good. And, this is such an exclusive situation. We have to see each other again. And I get nervous. I'm even talking to my best guy friends. I'm like, you wouldn't believe she said yes. This is like the most perfect relationship ever. We have stuff in common. Like, do you guys have any idea how rare this is today? I get all excited, but I'm also nervous. I'm telling them, what if she cancels the date? Every single close friend that I told, and I didn't tell that many people, all of them said, there's no way she's gonna cancel this date. That would be so awkward. You gotta see each other, and she obviously likes you. She cancels the date last minute. I was miserable. I know better, but this was such a special situation that I just thought, I think this might really be it. I'm trying to not force things, trying to have things work out regular, and it was a disaster. I have to see her, and then I see her. The next time she just sends me a message and says, I had a really hard week, and I don't know, something, I wouldn't be at my best, whatever. Cancels. I try to be nice about it. I thought about not responding because it was so ridiculous. Had this plan for 3 weeks. She got the ball rolling with all the social media liking. She even came over to talk to me at an event when she didn't have to. And she made this thing happen. I don't care what anybody says. They don't know what they're talking about. If they say otherwise, they weren't there. I wasn't even going to push this thing because I did not want an awkward situation. I didn't even want... Anyway, it just was so awkward. And then I see her for like a month after, several times. She doesn't say anything. Smiles and waves a couple times. I'm just like, man alive, why would you do this? The most awkward, frustrating, embarrassing situation, because everybody watches in a situation like that, and they all know he probably likes her. Oh, she's going over to talk to him now, and it's just beyond. It's just a game to them. It's a game. They have no shame. I mean, in the place where we see each other, it's one of my favorite places in the world. It really is. And it turned into a very different place for a long time because I had to see her, and she didn't even say anything about it. Eventually, she comes up to me and like apologizes because she knew I wasn't happy. I didn't say anything to her. But it's just shocking how you meet somebody organically who you think should have some class and not behave like this, and they let you down the most. It's just hard to believe that this is where we are, where there's no shame. Dating is a game to them. I'm not saying all women, and I'm not saying that all men are angels. It's not the case, but I'm just saying the general trend here is that they're in total control, and they know it, and the behavior is just absolutely disgusting, in my opinion. And see that little family of ducks? That's what I would like to have someday, but it just seems impossible. It's hard to put it into words, but this is a bigger problem than just, dating's a little tough today. This is a culture, this is a lifestyle that they're promoting, in doing. I don't see how the problem's going to get solved. I have some ideas for some alternative things that I'm going to try, but it's just a serious problem. I mean, I just can't imagine where we'll be in another 10 years, 20 years. I'm the guy, I have wanted to have a family. I've always seen that in my future, and I don't know how I'll get there. I mean, I've quit dating. People are not dating. They're going on first dates. There's a very big difference, and it just, I don't want to make a video where I'm just complaining and ranting, but there's not really much else to do. I mean, I've got an idea that I'm going to try, which is an alternative. It's going to seem a little crazy, but I'm going to try it. But I just, my guy friends call me and we talk about this stuff. I've got two friends who I've spoke with recently. This guy, he's like the guy that you would think they're all going to be chasing. This guy's like 6'5". He's got a foreign accent. That's usually gets points. Of course, anytime you say something about his accent, he gets mad. He used to be a model, used to live in New York. This guy, you would just think that he's one of those top 3% guys who's just doesn't have any problems. He's more frustrated than me. I think he's more frustrated than the average guy. He just plays the game at a higher level, and it's just worse. The way they treat him, and the ghosting, the lying, the manipulating, the men don't have feelings. You can do whatever you want, and then you don't even have to see him again. There are no consequences. You just jump on a dating app, and you got 100 more anytime you want. You can have them at your doorstep in 15 minutes. If you don't think that's true, you're very naive. Does it work the other way around? I don't care how hot a guy is, or this guy is like what I would. Everywhere we go, all I ever hear is, "Oh, he is just gorgeous. He is too good looking for his own good." Doesn't matter. They're a dime a dozen on these dating apps when these girls set their preferences. So you can't compete with the internet. So it's like we're living in this big fat lie, because we really are. And it's just shocking, but this is what's going on. And it's not being talked about, not nearly enough on the internet or media. And it's really concerning. It just really is. I got another friend. This guy, he is an absolute catch. Owns his own business. I met him at XRP Las Vegas. Very successful with crypto. Very smart. This guy's an absolute catch. There should be no problem. I was just trying to help him with a situation where we were talking about what to do with a lady that he liked, and he's describing the situation to me as being really nice, being a gentleman, doing all the nice things. And I tried to tell him, man, I wish it wasn't this way, but they are so desensitized. You can't, being a gentleman, doing all that just goes out the window on them. They'll leave you for some guy they know they can't trust, who's not trustworthy, who's all over the place, who treats them like crap. That's happening all the time. That probably has been going on since the beginning of time. It's crazy, but today it's even crazier than that. I have had girls, I've went on dates where I've paid. I just say, we'll have one check. And she'll look at me and go, "You think that I don't have enough money to buy my own food?" And I'm like, I did not say that. I just pay when I go on dates. And they get mad. I've had it the other way, where I say, "Oh, well, should we?" I just wait for the waitress to say, "Should we do one check or two?" And I look at her, and then I've had them get mad and say, "Oh, you're not gonna pay." And I'm like, "I can, or we can go Dutch. I don't know." I usually say, "I don't know how things work these days, whatever you want, but I'm happy to pay." I've had them get mad anyway and say like, "Oh, if I go on a date and the guy's not gonna pay, then I'm not gonna continue," or whatever. Or they just ghost you, you never hear anything. It is ridiculous. I've had it where I even open a door. They don't like that, you know? I've had it where I try to challenge them on things, you know, or we argue, that they get mad. I've had it where I just try to agree with everything or whatever. You know, I'm on my own path. I don't need a girl. I really don't. I've proven that to myself the last couple of years. But it's just crazy how I've even experimented, tried things. They expect you, honestly, to somehow be some kind of mind reader and read their mind and know exactly, laser beam specific, how you're supposed to talk to them, how you're supposed to act, what you're supposed to do, and everything. And it is freaking ridiculous. I'm like, I'm sorry that I'm not a mind reader. How was I supposed to know that you want to pay, or you want me to pay, or you don't want me to pay, or whatever? It is just absolutely ridiculous. And then they're just off to the next guy because they can jump on their dating app and have 100 guys. They don't realize they're not living in reality. This is not real. And they think it's real because it is kind of real because it's what they're doing. But then it gets really real when they hit about 37 and they realize, like, oh, I can't do this forever. Things are changing. And that's if they want kids. If they don't want kids, other things change too. But, oh, it's just crazy. I've really had enough, you know, and a lot of my friends have too. And I just can't believe this is the world that we live in, where, you know, I know that the guys who fought in World War II and all that, yes, they had hard lives. They did. I'm not saying that ours are anywhere near that. You know, I'm not saying that we don't have it easier in a lot of ways. You know, I'm just saying that, you know, our beaches of Normandy is different. Our beaches of Normandy is living a meaningless life. Not being able to have a family, not being able to have kids, not being able to pass something on to this world. You know, and that, to me, that's almost kind of worse. I mean, it's almost like what are we doing here on this earth if we can't, you know, if I've learned one thing with my journey in crypto, it's that money does not make me happier. And I think that most people, and I'm not ultra rich or anything, but crypto changed my life, and it just, you know, it's complicated, but when you go through it and you get what you want, sort of, and you see, like, oh, I'm a couple lifetimes ahead of other people my age in, like, terms of retirement. I don't say that to brag. It's part of the equation here. You know, and you've got enough money on hand. Most millennials can't write you a check for like $2,000. It's sad, but it's just really frustrating when you've got all the stuff together and you're still treated like you're totally worthless. And it's just to the point where it's not frustrating. It's just like stupid. It's just like a waste of time because this is the new normal. What do you do? How do you work with that? Put it in the comments below because, oh, it's just getting wild out here. And it's, oh, I don't know, something needs to change. I don't know what. I guess it'll have to be me. But this is just not the way that I thought things would be when I'm 35 in terms of, you know, family, relationships, life. And it's hard to take. And then when you're alone, a lot of the time, you have a lot of time to think about this stuff, and it starts to really snowball. So, I don't know. You know, I've been inspired by some other YouTubers that I've watched who, you know, they go on walks and take videos like this, or they're just sitting, you know, in front of their chair or something, and they're talking about these issues, similar issues. And I've realized that when I turn their channel on and watch it, it makes me feel better, even if that's the only thing, like, oh, maybe I'm not the only one who's having this problem. And so it makes me feel a little bit better. So that's all I'm trying to do with this. And with the crypto aspect of it, change here, turn around. The crypto aspect of it, it adds a whole nother dynamic where, I'm just going to say it, there's not a ton of 35-year-olds who in 1 year, all of a sudden using crypto, increase their retirement by 500%. That's not a normal thing. And so when you go through that alone, that's something that it sounds great, but you need some emotional support for, because it just gets weird. It's like you had something great happen that you made happen, but there's no one to share it with. There's no one to really even acknowledge it. And it gets weird. An example, the other day, well, not the other day, in the summer, I was walking at this lodge, and there were like all these people. I think there was a wedding going on, and I walked by this, like a ballroom, and this guy was giving like a best man speech or something. And so I'm walking by, going to go out and hike, and I hear him talking. I just decide to listen a minute, and so he starts talking, and he's talking about his friend Tom or whoever, and he's saying like, I remember the day I met Tom, and we both started corporate at the same time, and we met in the newbie lot, in the parking lot, and then in walks Kathy the next year, and I remember my other friend over here who I know, and he's pointing to all these people who are involved in this story and involved with the bride and groom, and he's saying, I remember I parked in his spot in the 10-year lot so that I could run in, or so that he could have my spot, and then he could run in to her, the bride, and he's telling this intricate story of how they met and how it worked and all these great times, and then we got promoted, and I remember Tom was saying, oh, my office will be closer to her and I can see her or whatever. And anyway, this long story, and then at the end he tells how they got together, started dating, and they've all been such great friends, and and their corporate jobs have been great. You could just tell that this was all through their corporate experience. And I just thought, it's so strange. My journey in crypto, again, I'm not bragging. That's the hard thing about crypto. When you're successful in crypto, you're not allowed to talk about it because you're called crazy and all this stuff. But if you're successful in corporate, you're allowed to talk about it. If you're a successful football player, that's all we talk about. So when you're successful in crypto, you're like not allowed. And it's so weird because, I've been very successful at it, and it was all me. It really was. It was me in the internet. Yeah, there's some people that I talk online with, but they weren't physically there. And it was me in the internet. I didn't have any meetings. I didn't have any team outreach workshops. I didn't have promotions. I didn't have demotions. I didn't have transfers to another department. I didn't have to meet with my boss. I didn't do all these things. And it might sound great, but it's also very lonely, and it gets kind of weird if you think about it, and it's no joke. I was just talking to someone who does the same day job as me, and this is their last year. And they kind of brought up the topic of crypto, and we got to talking, and was telling him about the move that I made. And the bottom line is, I have more in retirement than he does. He's twice my age and has been working for 35 years. That's kind of a big deal. And when you go through that alone, it's difficult. It really is. It's just so different. It's so isolating, and if you get help, it can make things even worse. It could go kind of like this. You go in to talk to the therapist. How are you? Oh, I'm good. Tell me about yourself. It's like a job interview. Then we get into the problems part. Why are you not feeling happy? Or what's the problem? Well, dating. And it's it's a train wreck. I can't seem to do it, explain the whole thing. Oh, well, have you tried online dating? It's like I'm about to leave. Yes. Well, have you ever been in any serious relationships? Yes, 3. I've almost been engaged twice. Well, have you thought about have you thought about putting your time and effort into your career and maybe focusing on your finances? I've already got that part kind of taken care of, because the reality is if I can do in crypto what I've already done last year, if I can do that 1 or 2 more times between now and when I'm 65, it's just going to be fine, okay? And it's even fine now. So it's a situation that the average person or even therapist or financial advisor, they're not used to seeing. So it makes things difficult. And so anyway, and then the person trying to help you might say, well, do you play a musical instrument? Maybe you need to pick up a hobby. I was a music major and I play every Friday night in a big band, and I do gigs and things. That music is a huge part of it. Yes, I play a music instrument, to answer your question. Oh, okay. All right. Well, okay. Let's see. Something else I suggest. Have you maybe tried a career change though? Yes, I did, and it was the biggest disaster ever. I'm going to do a video about that, talking all about it, but that career change disaster led to me making a really gutsy move, the move of taking my retirement out of the traditional retirement it was in, putting it in a self-directed IRA, where I then put it in cryptos like XRP, and it changed my life, changed my retirement situation. But to answer your question, yes, I have tried a career change. It was just as much of a scam as dating seems like it is. And I'm not trying to be difficult with the person, but it's just, they're giving me these quick fix, like normal fix things, and they're not working because I've already tried all these things. And it has a way of making me feel like a crazy person. Maybe I am. I mean, you've got to be in crypto, but these problems we're having, the problem with the problems is the baby boomers and the other generations, they've never dealt with these problems. So they really don't understand, like the whole technology thing, and they just don't understand. And it affects your entire life, all the aspects. So take how difficult dating already is and add crypto on top of that. You've got a recipe for trouble. And I want to talk about it. And if I can help one person, if anybody's even still listening, who maybe is going through some of the same thing, I'd like to know. So put the comments down below, and hopefully this video made you feel a little bit better, that maybe you're not the only one. That's how I feel when I when I watch John Griffin's videos about relationships and marriage and divorce. And there's this other guy, I can't remember his channel, but he's this cool guy with sunglasses on, just sitting, talking about millennial problems, dating, and things. I can't remember the name of his channel, but when I watch these, it makes me feel a little bit better, like I'm maybe not the only one experiencing these problems. So I hope I can do that for you all. And please comment below and let me know what you think. If you don't agree and you think I'm just being a big baby, put it in the comments below. I'd love to know that. And I'd love to know what your solution might be. Thanks for going on this walking rant with me. Digital Asset Guy out.